Oh god, I don't want to start crying again. Fuck.
Right, hello. 2 days ago, I got an email from Ray Langton, who is the Knightsbridge Professor of Philosophy at Cambridge. She told me that my registration interview, basically the exchange between myself and 2 members of the faculty that decides whether I deserve to stay on the PhD programme. So no big deal, totally chill. So I got an email 2 days ago saying that my mini viva, which is what they basically call this registration interview, would be in 2 days' time. Low-key freaked out at the time. Didn't think the mini viva would be before my trip to Australia, and I literally go in like a couple of days. I had basically forgotten about my entire chapter 1 and then had to come abruptly back to reality. So that is what we're doing today. I got the email on Tuesday, today is Thursday. I was feeling actually fine about this. I think part of the mistake I've made is that I decided to have a coffee this morning just to sort of switch the brain on a bit and get me a bit more responsive. So that's kind of why I think I'm feeling more edgy than I was last night. Because last night I was thinking about the Viva and I was like, you know what? It's actually going to be alright. I know this piece of work. I've had multiple supervisions about this piece of work now, and I know it's up to a really good standard. There's no need to freak out. But, of course, anxious brain plus coffee, the morning of the occasion, I'm freaking out. I have spent the last 3 hours on the toilet. That's just how it is, right? That's what I'm doing today. I'm gonna take my camera with me. I don't know how much I'm gonna be able to vlog. It's in the faculty building, which I've not shown you guys yet. I mean, it's not much to look at, to be honest with you, but I thought just for the sake of the PhD vlog and this experience of doing a PhD in philosophy at Cambridge, that you guys might wanna see it. I might wanna look back in a few years' time and sort of admire my courage, lack thereof. That's where we are, that's where we're headed. It's at 2 p.m. now, it's about 20 to 10. I'm gonna have to really cram. Actually, I'm not gonna have to really cram. That's the anxious thought. That's the negative thought. The truth is that it's gonna be fine. The people who are interviewing me are sound people. They are not mean, they are not malicious, they're not out to ask me trick questions. Yes, I'm expecting some of the questions to be challenging. This is philosophy, this is a test. This is testing whether I am up to standard, basically. And it's totally legit that this is gonna be slightly challenging. I don't know, might be fine. I'll let you know. Anyway, clearly nervous, clearly need another bowel movement, clearly too much information. I'm gonna go and I will see you later. Right, hi guys. So this is my sort of getting ready area. It's where I've spent the last 3 hours doing this. I didn't really want to vlog today because I had what I thought was a less than perfect experience at my registration interview yesterday. So as I mentioned in the clip before, I had an interview on Thursday, which is a sort of transfer of status or something like that. I'm not sure quite how PhD administrators divide up all the various portions of a PhD, but in any case, it's the first milestone really of your journey as a PhD student. And I was very nervous for this thing. I mean, I went in and I was gonna vlog for you guys, but I felt so nervous that I didn't even want to be seen getting a camera out of my bag. I was just so frozen by everything, and my mind was just on the work and what I was gonna say, trying to predict all these questions. So my mind was completely elsewhere, so I'm sorry guys that I didn't vlog. If you know the philosophy faculty at Cambridge, you'll know it's nothing to look at, so there's a thing. But as I say, did the interview go badly? No, it didn't go badly. It was fine. But when you have perfectionism, and particularly after the week I've had, sorry, I think I've got like a fuzzy fibre on my nose. Oh, it's my cat hair. Ah. When you've had the week I've had, as you know, I went into therapy for my imposter syndrome, and it's really, oh god, I don't want to start crying again. Fuck.
It's really dredged up a whole lot of shit for me. It's really brought the scum and the funk from the bottom of the seabed that is my brain. Another metaphor. I know we were using onion last week, but it's really brought it all back to the surface, and that trauma, that pain that revolves around this core belief of I'm not good enough has just been thrust forward into my consciousness. It's honestly been one of the most depressing weeks I've had for a really long time. And I know this is heavy, and I know that if you're watching and you're a family member or you're a close friend, I know this is painful to hear. It's horrible to hear that somebody you care about is going through something so unpleasant. You need to tell me that. Because this feeling of not being good enough, having it clearly articulated in the forefront of my mind, you know, I've dreamt about this proposition, I'm not good enough, for several nights over the last week. And I really didn't realize just how painfully I could be re-traumatized by these memories and by bringing all of this stuff back into view. So given that this feeling of not being good enough, and even the sort of brute proposition, I'm not good enough, figuring very presently in my consciousness, I went to yesterday's interview on the back foot, is the only way I can say it. I felt very desperately that I needed approval, praise. I needed to hear the very best things about myself. When you're so low, things that go fine don't do a lot of work in really bringing you back up, bringing your mood back up. The problem is that it was just fine. There was nothing outstanding about it. It was just very matter of fact. It had the vibe of a kind of formality. It's a process that every candidate has to go through to be progressed to the next level. And you know, this is academic philosophy. The forums you find yourself in aren't just this mutual appreciation society. And if you expect it to be, you're going to be disappointed. In fact, you're going to be worse than disappointed. It's going to upset you. Yesterday, even though things were completely fine and presumably everything went well and I passed and I'm through and whatnot, it felt like a blow. And I walked 6.5 miles. I got home and I just cried. And it was just this feeling of just not being good enough again. And it's so ridiculous because yesterday was absolutely bang on, procedurally normal and good. And yet the way that experience is communicated to my brain, my anxiety disorder and my perfectionism and these horrendously high standards I have for myself, which I wouldn't have for anybody else in my position. The result is that you just feel like you're crumbling. You feel like if I don't get really full-on, excessive praise, admiration, if they don't lay it on, then it just wasn't good enough, and you beat yourself up about it. It's shit. It's absolute shit. And I'm sick of it because I know that this work is good. I know that I'm not a cause for concern. These things are obvious. They don't need spelling out. It's implied that I'm good enough, for God's sake. Still, when I don't get that high level of having approval smeared all over me, I just feel so fragile. And it's that relationship I have with needing approval, needing this external validation and feedback, that's really got to change because it's having a profound effect on my self-esteem and my mood. One thing that I have found is that I used to just have these sort of anxiety symptoms. I used to just have the anxious thoughts and all these other parts of the perfectionist paraphernalia. But increasingly, it's becoming very depressing. And over the last couple of months, I have found myself becoming depressed. And it's been really difficult, even though I can talk quite openly about it. I mean, there's no way, I just can't be honest. I'm a very honest person. I'm very spirited. I really believe that part of where the anxiousness comes from in life is by feeling like you're not allowed or it's not acceptable for you to be authentic, and that being yourself is some kind of risk to yourself or your family, your parents, whoever. I'm sorry that this is not the most positive vlog in the world. I want to keep it real with you guys. Oh God. Sorry. It's a very emotional topic. There's nothing that makes you feel more vulnerable than having dredged up this childhood vulnerability, and you're sort of put back in the place of a child and you feel all the feelings you did as a child, of feeling like there was nobody who had your back and nobody you could talk to, and seemingly there was nobody who really valued you for who you were and what you were about. Even though yesterday was completely fine, just perfectly adequate as philosophical interactions go, what I need to destroy is my need and reliance on getting fulsome validation in order to feel buoyed up, in order to feel like my self-esteem and confidence has some kind of integrity. My self-esteem and my confidence has been swinging left, right, and center. Any kind of core confidence I have has been really put into question. And that's really hard when you thought that you'd come a long way with mental health and your self-esteem. You know, after I recovered from anorexia and bulimia, after having therapy for so many years for those conditions, you don't think you'll ever be sitting in the therapist's office again. You think you've kind of done all that work because there was so much of it to do when I was recovering from my eating disorders. It actually shocks me that here we are again. It's crazy because you think, what on earth wasn't addressed in that clinical psychological setting? What are these things that haven't healed? In what ways have I actually not really recovered? Okay, I'm a healthy weight, I can eat a normal diet, I can do the sort of normal stuff around food and feel decently okay about my body. But what the hell is all this other stuff that clearly was never resolved? In fact, it was never even brought up. And I mean that quite literally, well, metaphorically and literally. We never mentioned it in my former therapy sessions when I was going through recovery from my eating disorders. As a result, none of those childhood traumas were brought into the open so that I could reflect on them and process them anew in a way that I didn't when I was a child, and which I really needed to do, because healing doesn't happen without really looking at the pain and pushing through that pain barrier. And I really believe that. I really think there's a lot of people who just completely dissociate from their childhood traumas. They don't even remember what they were. They're so dissociated from something so painful that it's been repressed, and they might go on to act it out and relive those traumas and push them onto other people. Anyway, I am going on. I will sign off now. I'm really sorry. This has been really, it's been heavy, it's been bad. All I can tell you is that all the right people know what I'm going through. My supervisor knows, Knightsbridge Professor of Philosophy knows. I've got a lot of support. It's going to be okay. I trust the process of this therapy, and I have the most amazing therapist in the freaking world. We can talk about that another time. Thanks for listening, guys. It means a shitload. I will see you soon. Love you guys loads. Bye.